Well, good morning, everybody, and staff and library board members. Uh, Just like to welcome everybody to the Middlesex County Library Board meeting for Tuesday, January 13th, 2026. And I'm going to call this meeting to order. And first, I'd like to just make a kind of a thank you to Lee Robinson, the in charge of the Lucan Library. Lee was recognized in the Mayor's Honor Roll for her commitment to the community cupboard. And that was a program that Lee brought forward to this board to help out the communities with the community cupboard for certain items to help the needy in Lucan Godolphin. There's a that brought forward a proposal to have one in Glencoe, and probably they're working on one in Strathroy. And I'm just going to open it to Lindsay to make comments on this achievement that Lee did on behalf of the library.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So a very successful program that we implemented at the Lucan branch and has been running there for at least a couple of years now in partnership with the Friends of the Lucan Library. They're very active. They help manage donations and kind of logistics, as well as other service groups from the Lucan area. And so it is kind of emergency food supply for the community to help complement the services that the Elsa Craig Food Bank would provide to that area as well. And most recently, with funding provided through the London Community Foundation, they've added diaper supplies, and I think formula as well. So meeting that need, and that has been in the response to that, as you know, kind of heartbreaking as it is, has been very, very high, showing the need in the community for those resources and supplies as well. So Lee was shocked, I think, by the email that she received on behalf of the mayor about the honor roll recognition. And Lee and her team are going to be attending the council meeting in February to receive that honor. So we're excited to see that.
Thank you, Lindsay. I'm going to call on Lindsay Brock now to read the land acknowledgement.
We acknowledge that the land we stand upon today is the traditional territory of the Attawandaron, Anishinaabeg, Haudenosaunee, and Lenape-Wauk peoples who have long-standing relationships to the land, water, and region of southwestern Ontario. The local First Nation communities of this area include Chippewas of the Thames First Nation, Oneida Nation of the Thames First Nation, and Munsee Delaware Nation. We acknowledge the treaties that are specific to this area: Treaty 2, McKee Purchase; Treaty 3, Between the Lakes Purchase; Treaty 6, London Township Purchase; Treaty 21, Longwoods Purchase; and Treaty 29, Huron Tract Purchase. We value the significant contributions both in the past and the present of local and regional First Nations of Turtle Island. We acknowledge historic and ongoing injustices that Indigenous peoples endure in Canada, and we affirm our commitment to honoring Indigenous voices, nations, and cultures, and to moving forward in the spirit of reconciliation and respect.
Thank you, Lindsay. I'm now going to ask for provisions of disclosure, pecuniary interest, or any general nature thereof. So not, we'll move to the approval of the agenda. I'd like the motion and seconder that the agenda as presented be approved. Moved by Sharon McMillan, seconded by Brad. Further comments on that? All in favor? It's carried. Thank you. Now we'll move to the adoption of the minutes. Any comments or questions with respect to the minutes of November 25th, 2025 of the library board? Seeing none, I look for a motion that the minutes of November 25th, 2025 meeting of the library board be approved as presented. Moved by Mary Gay, second by Ruth Ann. All in favor? It's carried. Thank you. Vision topics, Middlesex Family Connections Update presented by Nadine Devin, Program Manager. Nadine.
Hello. You can proceed to the next slide. So purpose of today's presentation is to provide an update on the Middlesex Family Connections project. The update is being shared to reflect on the progress, outcomes, and next steps of the project. I'll share how it aligns with library priorities, walk through a brief background on the project, share recent campaign activities, and evaluation findings, and where we're headed next. This project aligns with the library's strategic plan. Under Create Exceptional Experiences, it supports staff by providing tools and resources to help them confidently connect families to services. And under Expand Our Reach, it strengthens partnerships and positions the library as a community hub, both physically in the branches as well as virtually through online tools. There are three components to the project. First is the internal online information portal, which is used by library staff. Second is the pamphlet rack and branches with core family-centered information. And third is the Middlesex Family Connections portal on familyinfo.ca, which has been designed for Middlesex families to access directly services and supports available in the county. So first I'll speak to the internal information portal. This portal supports staff by providing up-to-date information on family-centered services and supports. Information is organized into these respective categories. So updates continue to be made through the health chat portal. The goal is to keep information current and easy for staff to navigate during patron interactions. This is an image that's showing the resource library. This would be the most active aspect of the portal where we are updating on a regular basis. This is where we add brochures, website links, and other relevant information pertaining to an organization in a particular category. So you can see here depicted some healthcare resources. Slide. The pamphlet racks in the library provide a tangible, accessible way for families to take information with them. They complement conversations with staff and the digital tools available. And we've really narrowed down the resources that are included in the rack to be core trusted family-centered services. So the types of organizations and services that are most often sought after. Next slide. Familyinfo.ca is a well-established trusted information platform supporting both London and Middlesex. It focuses on public sector and nonprofit programs that are licensed, regulated, or government funded in London and Middlesex. Familyinfo.ca is maintained by the Southwest Healthline and then funded by the City of London. The content is reviewed annually through a quality assurance and engagement committee. Both Lindsay and I sit on that committee. So Middlesex Family Connections is actually a dedicated section within familyinfo.ca. As I mentioned, it curates content specifically for Middlesex families. The portal helps family easily find local services, supports, and programs. So as you can see here, Middlesex Family Connections near the end of the dropdown provides a link to the actual Middlesex Family Connections portal. Next slide. So this is what, if you were to click on that link, this is what you would see first. The portal is intended to complement support, as I mentioned, between library staff and information that's provided by community partners. Centralized trusted starting point for families. And as you can see here, the respective categories organize information in different respective categories. Before I move on to the next slide, as you can see at the top, there's a little need more help. That little paragraph refers to community connectors. And that particular description around community connectors is included on every page within the portal. You go to the next slide. So what this particular information does is it draws you back to libraries and libraries as trusted community hubs and library staff and early on staff as trusted community connectors. So there's a description, like I said, a small description on every page within the portal. And then this particular, if you were to click on the link, it would bring you to this more in-depth description of community connectors and how to connect with a library staff or early on staff. Next slide. The maintenance and promotion of the portal was identified as a priority in the childcare and early years plan. Middlesex County Library chairs the Middlesex Family Connections Working Group, which is a subgroup of the Middlesex Children's Services Network. And this group includes partners such as childcare, the health unit, TVCC, and the County of Middlesex. So key deliverable of this working group was a promotional campaign to increase awareness of the portal. This ran from May to August of last year. Activities included social media, distribution of promotional material, and newsletter inserts. And funding was provided by the City of London. Slide. So social media was a key component of the campaign. This is an example of one of the images that was used. Community partners played an important role in helping to share content. Next slide. Resource distribution. We created a rack card and some business cards, and we had some magnets left over from a previous campaign from a few years ago. These were distributed locally through schools, childcares, physician and dental offices, as well as our libraries and early on programs. So throughout the campaign, families who did go to the portal were invited to complete a short survey. And the survey asked around user experience, areas for improvement. And then there was a small incentive, little prize draw, a gift, $50 gift card, three opportunities. Slide. Unfortunately, we had a very small sample size. We only had 37 survey participants from across the county. In terms of, you can see here, we had representation from most of the municipalities. Respondents, how did they hear about the portal? Most often through service providers and social media. Why were they going to the portal? Most often they were going there for childcare information or early learning information, which if you were to click on that particular category, lists a lot of information about library as well as early on. Slide. The ease of navigation was rated 3.24 out of 5, and the likelihood of recommending the portal was ranked as 3.16 out of 5. So there was a clear link between navigation and willingness to recommend the site. Slide. The website activity did increase during the campaign period. Both page views and active users showed noticeable growth. So we did ask our partners to share our images. Now, it's kind of hard to detect whether images are shared unless they use the hashtags that were included within the description that we included as an example description to go along with the post. So by a quick view to see if Middlesex Family Connections or hashtag was used. Didn't show a lot of shares. I believe there was like 4 or 5 shares from our community partners, but that doesn't mean that those social media posts weren't shared. They just may not have used the hashtag. But despite this, social media was still a major driver of awareness, highlighting the value of that type of channel to promote the portal. Next slide. So the evaluation question, does the platform, Middlesex Family Connections platform, continue to be a valuable tool? And yet, if yes, what changes do we need to make to this tool to make it more effective? So the campaign was successful in increasing reach and engagement. However, there's some room for improvement in terms of improving the usability of the platform. So the working group will meet to review the findings and explore next steps for the portal. This will include decisions around continued use, usability, improvements, and awareness strategies. And then internally, we will be looking at the use of the internal portal as well as the pamphlet racks to identify, again, continued use and opportunities for improvement. Any questions?
Thank you for the report. But is there any questions, Ruth?
Yes, through the chair. Can you tell me the usability of the website? Is that normal, like 3 point something out of 5? Seems kind of low.
I agree. Yeah, no, it is a little bit low. So it is something that we need to take a closer look at. Now, again, 37 out of 37 respondents. And if I can remember correctly, a lot of that had to do with childcare. So I teased through some of the comments. I think what people were looking for was very specific information about childcare and wait lists and things like that, where on that particular site, in order to, because that childcare world is constantly changing, what we've done is just simply link back to the county website to gather more information about childcare. So I would have to go through that a little bit more closely, but I have a feeling any of the not usability was because they were looking for very specific information about childcare, most likely connected to wait lists.
If I can just add, I think we're fighting against people's inclination to do a general Google search and want to have that information kind of immediately feed back to them. And versus this is, this site is a number of resources that then link to, the most up-to-date information, those exact websites, right? So it's also struggling with like people's general habits on how they're finding information. We find that in the way that we use social media, like for other library services and information and programs, right? People want to ask a question and on one platform, right, and get that immediate answer. So when the path to that information is a little bit longer, that's where our scores, I think, have been impacted. So trying to find, whether we can help retrain people, right? Or show them the benefits of the fact that a Google search isn't necessarily going to get you the right information in the way that, AI is kind of capturing things and consolidating answers, going to the direct source and helping people, learn, see how those tools can help them. That's a bit of a challenge. So how can we help get people there? I think is something that, we need to work on as well. Sorry. I turned that off. Did it turn off? Oh, I'm sorry. So is this particular website is intended to just be a portal for links to other resources. So for childcare in particular, it links back to the county website where these people, I'm thinking, were looking for more in-depth information about a particular childcare in a particular community and didn't want to have to make that extra click.
Mary Gay, you have a question?
Thank you very much. So just to get some clarification on this. So if somebody were to go into Google and just put in childcare in Middlesex County, it wouldn't directly take them to that?
It should, yeah, like it should be as part of the Google search. It would provide that, or the AI response would be Middlesex Family Connections, but it also might bring up the County of Middlesex. So our intent isn't to replace what's on the County of Middlesex website. It is comprehensive. It has all the most updated information. The intent of Middlesex Family Connections is to, if you land on that page, you're then linked to the resource that is most up-to-date and comprehensive.
So you're also competing though with all the daycare centers in the county, right? Would they come up as well?
I suppose they would if they had a website, yes. So if you were to do a search, it would be, you would get whatever childcare is within, yeah.
Yeah, because it really is just one more path, like Nadine was saying. And the fact that this is built on the familyinfo.ca project, which was more London focused. So this is really, trying to create something that's more Middlesex County centered, with that same structure.
That's a good term to use, would be a pathway.
Just one more quick question. Thank you, Chair Mosley. The pamphlets, are they as effective as they once were?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would have to check in with library office to see how often the brochures are actually going out. So we house all of our brochures at library office, and then branches are to ask for more pamphlets if they run out. So that is part of this year's look at that pamphlet rack and the usability of it. We have narrowed those down to very specific pamphlets of ones that are more typically topics that are more typically sought after by patrons. So for example, the childcare brochure, which was just recently updated by the county. We then have housed that, we've then shared that back out to library branches to put within their pamphlet rack. We were just talking about this as a side. We certainly don't want to, it is to supplement the information that is being provided by library branch staff in their interactions. So sometimes, or even early on, we might have an interaction with a patron or a family and then follow up with the pamphlet. I do find more and more now, this generation is not accessing pamphlets as readily as in the past. But we certainly, it's not, again, like we were just talking, we don't want it to be a lot of extra work to have to print or produce. These are produced by other organizations. I also don't want to print too many. We always keep it very narrow, like very limited. It's paper as well. So certainly something we're going to look into this year.
Are there any other questions for Nadine? Seeing none, then I look for a motion. Mover and seconder that the Middlesex Family Connection update presentation be received for information. Moved by Ruth and second by Brad. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. On our item 5B, we'll deal with Tails and Trails project update. Another presentation by Nadine. Go ahead, please.
Okay. So this presentation, I will highlight the Tails and Trails program from 2025. So I'll walk through key themes, partnerships, participation, and what we're planning for 2026. The Tails and Trails continues to be a very simple but powerful way to connect stories, community, and outdoor spaces. So this is an image, just as a reminder of the Tails and Trails locations. So we have one Tails and Trails located in each municipality. These trails help to extend the library services beyond branch walls. And the trails encourage families to explore their own and neighboring communities. So how do the Tails and Trails connect to the strategic plan? Well, they strongly support expanding our reach by bringing library experiences into outdoor community spaces. The program relies on partnerships with schools, Indigenous communities, and local organizations. And it also supports lifelong learning by encouraging dialogue, curiosity, and shared learning across generations. So through 2025, Tails and Trails continue to engage residents of all ages. This year, the library branch staff played a larger role in helping to update and rotate the content. This past year, we implemented a consistent schedule of 5 theme changes across the year. And promotion of the program and story themes we continue to use social media, our branch newsletters, as well as in-branch outreach. So I will just go through each month and the different themes that were integrated into those 5 turnarounds. So in April and May, we started with stories around individuality, kindness, and inclusion. And again, families were encouraged to visit multiple communities to experience different featured books. Pictured here are the selected children's books and the respective communities. In May and June, the Lucan Library partnered with Jessica's House Hospice. This was the second year that that partnership was put in place. This year, what was a little bit different is Lee and the library branch staff at Lucan offered a program for children and youth and an adult to create legacy artwork that memorialized loved ones, and it was supported by the hospice staff. The artwork and the stories were featured along the trail, and this partnership, as similar to 2024, also supported the Hike for Hospice event in Exeter. Next slide. So these images highlight the creativity and care reflected in the artwork. This project created a meaningful opportunity for connection, remembrance, and community storytelling. In June and July, 7 of the 8 trails featured content for National Indigenous History Month. Residents learned about Indigenous history, land acknowledgements, and local events. And the trails also, at the end of the trail, there was a number of other resources that individuals could access for further learning. In Strathroy, we partnered again with Strathroy Pride to feature a story called Pride Puppy. So this particular book helps to support conversations around inclusion and celebration of pride. So during Pride in the Park in Strathroy, families were encouraged to walk the trail and then circle back to the library tent to enter into a prize. This helped to increase engagement and participation in reading the Pride Puppy book. Through August and September, we featured a book called Going on a Bear Hunt. I'm sure you're all familiar with that book. So this book is one of a favorite of many, a favorite of mine. Families were encouraged to sing, move, and interact with the story. In Strathroy, we were really fortunate to work with Russell Peltier from Chippewa of the Thames to include an Anishinaabe translation. As an extension of the story theme, the early on team offered 3 bear hunt programs, one in Dorchester, one in Ilderton, and one in Strathroy. Slide. Share some pictures of those different programs. This is Dorchester. So what was really great, this is the second time we've done a going on a bear hunt program. This previous year we did it in Lucan. This year we expanded it to 3 locations. It's just a fun way to extend the going on a bear hunt story into more of an interactive outdoor learning program. Next slide. This is Ilderton. So children participated in a guided story adventure with the early on facilitator and then some outdoor play at the end of that story walk. Last, here's Strathroy. What was fun, each of those 3 programs also included a teddy bear hunt where the children would go and hunt for a teddy bear of their own that they could take home. That was a big hit, as well as a teddy bear picnic. In October, October 1st marks a national day to celebrate older adults. So during October and November, the Tales and Trails featured seniors programs and services, some of which, or many of which, were programs that are offered through the library. Residents were encouraged to explore intergenerational opportunities and community resources. As an extension of the theme, in Dorchester and Strathroy, an intergenerational crafternoon program was offered. That was with the assistance of Laura, one of the library branch staff. In this program, seniors and children created portraits of one another. The activity encouraged connection, storytelling, and shared creativity. See there at the bottom the number of participants that were involved in the program. This is just an example of one of those images. So what we did is we created photocopies of the images that were created by those that participated in the program, and then they were placed. So at the very beginning of the trail, we highlighted some information about programming, seniors programming that's available through the library and in the community, but then the rest of the trail featured these images from that intergenerational program. Next slide. And then last, we are in the midst of a snow and winter theme. So we would love to be able to go out and change out the the stories over the winter, but having done that in years past, not very conducive often. So what we've decided is typically when the weather is a little nicer in November, we switch out kind of the tail end of November, beginning of December, we switch out to a children's storybook. So this year, these are some of the books that we've chosen to be featured in the community that it coincides with. And those will stay in place until most likely March, and then we'll flip over for April. Next slide. Feedback. Now there is the opportunity at the end of the trail for residents to be able to scan a QR code and provide some feedback. I do try to look in there on a regular basis to see if we do get some feedback. I wouldn't say it's overwhelming, the number of participants, but of those that do participate in visiting the feedback form, it has been overwhelmingly positive. Types of themes that emerged was the value of literacy, culture, and mixing literacy, culture, outdoor activity, and community connection. And comments have highlighted enjoyment across multiple age groups. So yeah, those were just some of the quotes that I pulled from the feedback. Next slide. So looking ahead, so we do plan to further explore collaborative partnerships with the goal to continue to expand reach and relevance. Slide. So in the spring, we are actually going to feature the Very Hungry Caterpillar. And again, the reason for choosing that particular book is Russell Peltier, again, has a translation. And so we thought then this past summer, we highlighted the translation only in Strathroy. But for this year, we are going to actually expand the translation opportunity to all communities. And just to step back there, actually, there was a family or some families who reside in Chippewa who were actually at the Strathroy location, Strathroy Park, and happened to notice that the book had been translated and were ecstatic. They were very excited to be able to go back to their caregiver and say, Mom, that's our language. So that was then shared with a colleague of ours who works at Chippewa, who then ecstatically called me to tell me about what she had heard. So that really just highlights belonging and inclusion. So we're really happy to be able to expand that translation to all communities this year. And as well, we are going to work with the Early On team to explore related programming opportunities, so very similar to the Bear Hunt opportunity. Any questions?
Are there any questions with respect to this report? Ruth?
Yes, through the chair. Nadine, what partners do you collaborate with now?
Well, that's interesting. So the year previous, we did work with some childcares, some schools, and then hospice, Pride, Strathroy Pride. But this past year, we did Lucan, the hospice, Strathroy Pride. Previous year, we partnered with the museum. to do. They actually had a program, a summer camp program, and they highlighted artifacts from the museum. And then the children had to tell their own story about what they thought the artifact was about, and then they drew a picture. So again, this year, I think we just need to then go, okay, who did we partner with in 2024, 2025? Who are we interested in partnering with in 2026? 2025, really, 2024 and before, it was very library central. So through library office, we curated a lot of the content with support from one of our summer students. This past year, we really extended the opportunity out to library branch staff to be able to help curate the content. Moving forward, it'd be great to be able to have, it helps us too, and not having to necessarily curate all the content, but it also gives the opportunity for our partners to share their stories.
And one more question, financially, do you have any partners that sponsor any of the trails?
Not this year. So again, going back to those partnerships, we'll step back to the Optimist Club at Lucan, but the year that we did open it up to, let's say, childcares or schools, the content would be curated by those particular individuals. So it could be purchasing of the books would be done by that particular organization, but then we would assist in putting the material into the frames. Prior to that, we did get a sponsorship from Lucan Optimist to help support content in Lucan. So all of the purchasing of the books that year, we did a bear hunt program there. That was all supported by the Optimist.
That was kind of where I was headed, you know, in terms of many of the communities have Optimists or Lions Club, and has anyone reached out to them to see whether or not they would be interested in sponsoring? And for any of the centers that don't yet have, like Park Hill doesn't yet have a trail, maybe even something to sponsor an entire trail. I don't know, like what's the cost for one trail and all of the posts and the books?
Yeah, so the ongoing maintenance of the trail, so the curating the content, the books, it's very low cost. So the cost would come from staff resources. In terms of maintenance of the trail, that is the responsibility that was built into our contracts. That would be the responsibility of the municipality. Again, on occasion, we do get some vandalism, which then requires some costs associated with the upkeep. With that said, we do have one of our, so Mel through the library is also been very helpful at going out to the municipalities or the various locations and helping just to fix some things that might come up with the screws. So far it's been fairly low maintenance. In terms of the cost, the upfront cost, it is quite expensive. I'd have to go back and dig out how much it would be per municipality or per location to actually put it in place. But I know there has been interest in other locations with Coldstream that was interested in potentially having a location there. So we did send over information about the cost per location. Yeah, that's an opportunity for, in terms of the Optimist, when we first started the program, that was part of the obligation from the federal government, forgetting which branch of funding it was for us to look for other partners to help fund. That's where that Lucan Optimist came in. Other Optimist clubs declined. However, I mean, it is an opportunity that we could look to. But like I said, on an ongoing basis, it isn't that high cost. I mean, the cost of purchasing the books to be able to be included, and then the other cost is the printing of paper resources to place in.
Is there any other questions in respect to this report? So just to follow up what Ruth asked there, have we ever, you know, I mean, you got to watch how you go hat in hand, but have we ever asked any service clubs if they're interested in supporting this program?
Yep, through the chair. So that was done at the beginning of the project, right? When we were looking for those initial partners. So I think it definitely is time to circle back. And especially now that we have greater involvement by the individual branches and they know, you know, a lot of those service clubs are already supporting different branches in different ways. So whether it's just directing the funds to this project, seeing if they're interested, right? Not trying to double dip or, put that burden on them. But I think there is definitely that opportunity. And then also, like Nadine said, we provided information to some groups that were interested or just kind of feeling things out in the Coldstream area so that, when if they did want to attempt a bigger capital project, they would understand what those costs look like and then understand our capacity to help support, additional trails. Just like exactly how Nadine described it. It was a lot of work to get this started and a lot of work that was done centrally. And now we're hitting that good place where it's, spread out amongst the branches and there's a bit more of a balance. But I definitely think that, we're going to be working on resources to help, in particular, our branch supervisors have those conversations and reach out to those service groups.
Yeah, just further that, if you made a presentation to a service group, like what kind of funding would you be, if they said, okay, what kind of funding you're looking for, what kind of number would you look for the maintenance of one that's already established, say in Dorchester or something?
So again, those costs, the maintenance costs, so let's say the plexiglass on the frame happened to be damaged. We had one time a whole metal frame taken off. That might have been it. I can't remember where that was, but a whole metal frame that was taken off. So then that had to be replaced. Those costs don't fall on the library. So that was part of the original contract with the municipalities, is that we would fund this through a grant, get it installed within the communities, and then we would curate the content and support promotion. Ongoing maintenance is the responsibility of the municipality. But again, on an ongoing basis, it really just depends on the community and whether there's any vandalism, but I wouldn't say it has been extensive even for the municipality to have to maintain at this point.
Thank you. Any other questions then with respect to this report? And then moving forward, I look for a motion that the Tales and Trails project update presented today be received for information. Moved by Chairman Miller, seconded by the warden. Further comments? All in favor? It's carried. Thank you. Item 6 is action items, and there are none. We'll move to correspondence and information. I'll read these out. If you've got any questions with respect to them, just raise your hand and we'll go right to them as we go through. Item 7A is Systems Internet 2025 back to 2024. Item 7B is Systems Circulations 2025 back to 2024. Item 7C is a library activity report. Now there's a report from Lindsay Brock. And Lindsay, comment on that, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So just drawing your attention to a few items on the report. We will see at the council meeting tonight or this afternoon where there's a bylaw to adopt the 2026 budget. So we had a successful budget meeting back in December. So looking forward to moving ahead with a number of our projects that we proposed. Looking ahead to the end of the month, we have the Ontario Library Association Super Conference. The theme this year is We Persist. So a number of sessions will connect to that theme. Sessions start on the 28th, the Wednesday. There's kind of pre-conference sessions that are mostly directed towards staff. So we have a few staff attending a collections session there. And then the main conference sessions get started on Thursday and on Friday. And then on Saturday is the library board boot camp. So that'll run the full day, 8:45 to 4 p.m. But there is flexibility in terms of, if you have to catch a train, because I know the schedules are challenging, but some interesting topics there that are listed in the agenda. So as challenges facing public libraries grow, what are boards to do, reconciliation in your board, looking at capital build projects, and library advocacy. our topics that are going to be covered. I'm just going to confirm everyone's plans just so I have them firm and I can go back and make any modifications to hotel reservations, that sort of thing. We'll get that all wrapped up. That'll be, it's always a great experience to get to Toronto for that conference. And then the next topic on that report is about Bill C-15 and the effort to save Canada's interlibrary loans. So I did reach out to board members in December, just letting you know that I was going to submit a letter to the MP's office, so MP Rude, outlining what the library's position is on this issue. So Bill C-15, the Federal Budget Implementation Act, includes amendments to the Canada Post Corporation Act that would eliminate the reduced postage rate for library materials directly impacting interlibrary loan services. So Bill C-15 removes parliamentary oversight on postal rates for library materials. And without this safeguard, Canada Post would have the right, the ability to raise rates sharply. So this discounted library rate has been in existence since the 1930s and widely used across Canada, particularly in rural areas, even our rural area before we got the library van. That's how we use that rate to send books from branch to branch at a greatly reduced cost. But it's typically it's in place through a private member's bill. It's often brought forward by an MP from Manitoba or somewhere on the prairies, where again, those library systems really rely on this reduced rate. So within this report, I just provided a little information about our interlibrary loan system. So this is the service that we provide where if we don't have a book in any of our branch collections, a patron can request it from another library in Ontario, any participating library, and vice versa. So there's information there about how many books we send, how many books we receive, and roughly we do get a bit of a rebate through the Ontario Library Service. And I think in my email, I noted, how much our costs could increase. So they could go, if we're paying around less than $2 for a green bag of books, because that's how we send them out. It's like a canvas bag. From my rough calculations, that could increase to around $18. In the news article that I provided, it said that Toronto had estimated that their costs could go up to $26. So obviously it's dependent on weight, number of books that you're sending out. So it would be a significant increase, both to the interlibrary loan service, and then it would have an impact on our books by mail service to clients who are homebound or living in a seniors residence. We have I think we noted we have 37 active patrons who use that service. So sent that letter off to the MP's office, did receive a nice response. So that was great. And I know that kind of lobbying and that information campaign is active at a number of library systems across the province and across Canada.
Yeah, Lindsay, I'd just like to comment on that. I want to ask the board if this is enough for us to do with respect to a library board, or should we ask the warden or perhaps even mayors of municipality to send a letter similar to that, asking for explaining how that will hurt? Because the way I read your letter does, it could go from $1,500 to $9,000 a year or up, depending on the weight of each package. So I just going to ask the board what they think with respect to that, if we just leave it as it is, or whether we look for other support from political support from our municipalities. And I'm going to ask the board for any comment on that, or whether we should or shouldn't, or just leave it go, because I thought it was a good letter, but I think the more support you get, the better off we are. So I'm just asking the board what they think we should do with respect to this. Don't see any hands up. Sharon, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. I don't see any particular negative consequences to reaching out. If you've already written, though, Lindsay, to MP Rude, what other, who else would we write to try and lend support from our individual municipalities to draw their attention to the impact that it has on library budgets. Any suggestions if we were to do this?
I go to Ruth and then we can discuss that. Go ahead, Ruth.
I think also consider who the Canada Post reports to, which minister. Because, I mean, this is a cost-saving measure for Canada Post. So ultimately, they're the ones that are making this decision. But who do they report to at the ministerial level? Because there must be somebody there. And I would also consider going straight into Canada Post.
Right.
And I don't mean the local branch.
Yeah. I had a comment, but I'll leave that. So, so then is the feeling of the board we should move forward with asking for our political support for this this idea? Because I know it's a federal issue, but I guess it affects everybody, even like as it trickles down from, you know, the rate that comes from each municipality towards supporting the library. And, you know, with, you know, everybody's finishing out their budgets and costs associated with it might be minute to some people's views, but might be important to others. Sharon, go ahead.
As I said before, I don't believe it would hurt. And I think that our role as board members, the advocacy piece to try and give strength to our opposition to these fees, I can't see, Chair, that it would hurt. So if Lindsay and her group could work on some sort of a template letter that we could send and indicate the best people to send it to, I would be willing to support that.
Thank you. I feel like everybody else, I forget about that thing, but I'm trying to think of how we could, we'd have to do it here once we come out of this session here to put a motion forward under new business, or just at the end of this, or we can do it right now. Yeah, then I would look for that, a motion that we ask our the county and our lower tier municipalities to send a letter to their federal MP, which is the same, but to support the letter that Lindsay sent with respect to this increase to the mailing costs affecting our library board, and also, and I agree with Ruth, that, like, I don't know where at the federal level you send your Canada Post. Pardon me? Procurement. Okay. Thank you. So for procurement, would you think that that would be part of it? And then Lindsay will send out a template to each municipality with this request, and the request will come from the library board for that support. Okay. Is that, go ahead, Morgan.
Yes, I'm just thinking of this from a higher level. If you look at what the library does, are you limiting yourself by saying just send it to a certain minister? Like, you know, what about your Minister of Education? Look at what are the services the library is providing and the population you're serving, to say, you know, it's Canada Post is calling the shots, to Ruth's point, and they're running a business. They're not running it well. There's other models in the world that could easily be followed to fix this problem, but they've chosen not to do that at this time. So our only lane is, where do we get our funding from? So maybe some of these other ministries have to step up and say, you know, we support this. So therefore, from a financial piece, we're willing to put our voice behind that, and maybe a check as well to support that funding model. Like, it's only one cog in the wheel, but it's just a thought.
Thank you. That's twice. I know three I'm gone, but that's twice. So, but that, when you say another group, like, are you thinking like the provincial side, that's the only place we get any funding from?
Yes, so I would CC them on the correspondence. Like, there's no downside to sending a copy
Right.
to, but it is the province. I realize that, and the federal is the other. But at the end of the day, Canada Post, even though it's federally funded, we have to look at who are the people that are using these books that we're having to ship around in the cost. So those are people that get that need services that directly come from or indirectly come from the province. So why aren't we involving them in the conversation? I guess perhaps we don't need to. I'm just throwing that out there to stir the pot.
Well, I think the more groups that are aware of it and aware that how it affects their funding and affects their the bottom line with their budget, the better off we are. I would agree with that, but just how we get it in motion here is what I'm looking for now.
Don't pretend to have an exhaustive list. Like, you'd have to sit down and say, okay, education is that's a no-brainer. What about like social services and things of that nature?
So how can we put that in motion, I guess? Yeah, pardon me? Yep, yep.
That staff be directed to seek support from Middlesex County Council and local municipal councils regarding the impact of Bill C-15, and that correspondence be sent to the appropriate federal and provincial representatives.
Is that your motion? Thank you. And I see it. Mary Gay will second that. Any further comments on this? All in favor? It's carried. Thank you. Go ahead. Continue, Lindsay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So then the end of the report just wants to point out a few programs that are coming up. So as well included at the end of the correspondence and information items is a poster about our Creative Age Partnership online program series. So Middlesex County Library is partnering with Creative Age and St. Thomas Public Library for a virtual series of programs. So these will run January 13th to February 17th. A number of sessions are available with a variety of activities: vision board, journaling, stitching, memoir writing, card making, and creative cuisine. And through this partnership, all supplies are provided and will be made available for pickup at library branches. So we're looking forward to launching that series. Family Day will be coming up next month on Monday, February 16th. So our plans are consistent with previous years. So we have 6 library locations open for special open hours. And family story times will be held at 10:30 a.m. And then early on programming will run from 11 to 12 at 5 of those branches. There'll be more promotion come out about those program plans. Puzzle Swap, hugely popular program that has happened for the past couple of years at Strathroy. Demand after Christmas, everyone gets a new puzzle and they want to get rid of their old ones. So the drop-off period ends tomorrow for those puzzles, and then you get basically a ticket and you come back starting January 15th to pick out a new puzzle, and it's really taken off. We've tried it in other communities, not quite the same level of success that we've had in Strathroy, but it's a lot of fun. Nerf Battle After Dark. This is a fairly new program that we've run at a few branches with these Nerf battles. Some have happened outside during the summer or in the branch during closed hours. And then Clutter Busters, a virtual program that happening on January 22nd. We all have, New Year's resolutions about how we want our houses to look and what we should be giving away or downsizing. So looking forward to that program, and happy to answer any questions.
Is there any questions from that report from Lindsay? Seeing none, then we'll move to item 7D, which is early on program updated January 2026. 7E, letter to the Honorable Van Root, MP, regarding Bill C-15. 7F is a CTV news article. Here's how the federal budget could affect library board books. It's item 7G is creative activity online program series. Is there any questions or comments with respect to 7A to G? And I look for a mover and seconder that item 7A to item 7G be received for information. Moved by Brad and second by Ruth. Further comments? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. We'll go to item 8 inquiries. Are there any inquiries? 7-9 is new business. 9A is our next meetings are Tuesday, March 24th, 2026, and Tuesday, May 26th, 2026, and then Tuesday, June 16th, 2026. Is there any questions or comments then? If not, then I move the bylaws. Item 10A, bylaw number 15, a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the January 13th, 2026 meeting of the library board. I look that a motion that the first and second for the bylaw be given the first and second readings. Moved by Ruth, seconded by Sharon McMillan. Yes. Comments, all in favor? It's carried. Next, I move that the bylaw be given a third and final reading. Moved by Brad, seconded by Mary Gay. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Item 11, adjournment. Look for a mover and seconder that the meeting be